Oh, there's a freaking fly in this room. It's going to drive me mad. All right, guys, I got a long one for you. It is September 22nd. It is a Friday. I am 6 weeks pregnant today. Yay! 6 weeks pregnant is a big milestone for me because considering all the chemical pregnancies I've had, when you get past 6 weeks, you know you're sort of like leaving the chemical pregnancy zone. Of course, there's all kinds of mines in the field ahead of us to step on and detonate, but at least the chemical pregnancy one is now behind us. So I guess that's sort of like a morbid thing to celebrate. By the way, the room is a mess because at one point I had my 1.5-year-old in here and I was trying to film this and it was so loud I had to stop and put him to bed. So we are starting over. Here's how it's going to go. I'm going to show you guys my BBT chart, my line progressions. I'm going to talk quickly about diet, weight, and training for this upcoming week and just the first trimester in general. Then I'm going to talk about symptoms, and then I will show you guys my lack of baby bump, just for the sake of, memories and such. But here is my BBT chart. I've stopped using my Apple Watch because my Apple Watch has decided to stop working for me. It just skips random nights, and I'm kind of over it. So this is just my regular BBT thermometer and my resting heart rate. So everything is looking good and stable. Here are my easy at home line progressions, and can I just say I am so glad to be packing this away and being done with it. In all my previous pregnancies, I really reveled in the ritual of taking a daily pregnancy test and like doing these line progressions. I loved it. It was addicting. I like relished it. But this time around, it's been the exact opposite. It has been tedious and it's stressed me out and it's given me anxiety. And a smart person would have said to themselves, hey, let's just stop doing this because it's completely unnecessary. But yo girl is OCD. And I just knew I would want to have this data. And I knew I would want to have this keepsake to look back on. I knew I would want to be able to share it with others in the future who are asking. And I find it interesting. So it was a labor of love, but I committed to it and I did it all the way through until I ran out of tests. So this is what my line progression looked like. This is what my last tests that I took looked like when they were fresh. And my OPKs stopped looking any different for like the past whole week. They've just sort of looked like this every single day. So that's that. I weighed myself yesterday. Oh, by the way, let's look at this while we talk about weight. This is my 6-week lack of bump picture that I used for my Instagram post this morning. I weighed myself and I weighed in at 67.75 kilo. And in last week, at 5 weeks pregnant, I believe I was 67.35. I expect my weight to fluctuate quite a lot over these next few weeks because I'm dealing with a lot of things that affect my appetite and what I am eating. I'm kind of just in survival mode and giving myself a very large margin of grace right now. And it's easier to do it this time because in my last pregnancy, I was on this major fitness journey and I had just finished a cut diet. I like, my physique was where I wanted it. And so the whole having grace with diet and physique and stuff like that was a bit of a challenge. But this time around, I've been holding steady for a while. And I'm very comfortable in the body I have. It's not the fittest or the strongest that I've had, but it's just very cozy and comfortable for me. And so I have a lot more relaxation around that topic. But I do want to make sure that I maintain my health and my fitness and everything like that this time around. So I am going to be talking about it and documenting it here and holding myself accountable. So if that is triggering, I'm sorry. I know it can be a triggering thing. I don't mean anything ill by it. I just like to have control over my body, and I like to make sure I'm like staying on track with my goals and staying on track with my health and not letting myself get a little too out of hand because I have done that in the past. And that starts to affect me negatively mentally. So that is weight. In terms of diet, my goal this week is to just try to eat regular, small, healthy meals throughout the day. I am not dealing with any nausea yet, or food aversions or anything like that, but I am dealing with stiff anxiety right now, and it's very much affecting my appetite. I don't want to eat. I go long stretches of time without eating, and then my blood sugar and my blood pressure crash, and all of a sudden I'm like having to eat everything in sight to just regulate and stabilize my body. It's not a good strategy. So my goal going forward this week is just healthy, nutritious, regular meals throughout the day. Even if I don't feel hungry, there are still things that are very satisfying to me. Bell pepper and hummus, banana and peanut butter, cottage cheese and grapes with a hot cup of tea. I love that kind of stuff. So I just need to force myself to eat throughout the day, even though I don't want to. So that's sort of my diet plan at the moment. My diet in the previous week has been shambles. It is what it is. We're moving forward. Today's a new day. We're going to make better decisions today than we did yesterday. Training. I haven't seen the inside of a gym in a while, but that is because I have been up to my eyeballs in chopped wood. I started out a month or two ago with 22 cubic meters of chopped wood that I needed to move from our goat pen to our woodshed, and I'm about halfway through. I have about 10 or 11 cubic meters left to move, and so I'm like right now, as in the past couple days, I have been doing sort of a side stash of wood alongside our house because we realized our first frost date is going to be in 3 weeks. We are in the rainy season right now. It is raining all day long. The sun is gone. So all of this wood is getting drenched. We need a stash of wood that's accessible to be dry when we need to start burning in a few weeks. But the problem is I'm loading all this wood into the shed from the back to the front. So all of the driest wood is not going to be accessible. It's going to be in the back. The newest wood that we're going to have accessible is the wettest wood I have just loaded in, if you understand what I'm saying. So my husband and I realized we need to make a stash now that we can get to ASAP when it's ready to burn, that's been able to dry for about a month. So I worked on this the past couple days and completed it. This is a 5-foot, 5-inch stack of wood. That's how tall it is. It was not easy, but I got it done in a couple days. And now I'm back to loading wet wood into our shed. So by the time this wood is done, we've burned it all. Then it will have been a couple months that the wetter wood in our shed has had a chance to dry. So that is just a lot of wood talk. Thanks for coming to my speech on that. So that's been my training. That's been my gym. I go out for a couple hours every day and I work on this wood. So I have been active and I continue to be active, but I also long for the day that this wood stuff is done and I can just focus on regular lifting and cardio in the gym and just get into a more routine schedule of working out, because I do plan on doing that throughout my whole pregnancy again, like I did last time. Okay, now let's go into symptoms. I went back and compared all my pregnancies, and with all my 3 previous kids and going into this pregnancy as well, the main commonalities amongst all of those were that I had night sweats, vivid dreams, insomnia, and major fatigue of varying degrees with each of them, but I had all of that in all of my pregnancies. So those are like common things. But then all of my pregnancies have also had elements that were different. With my first child, which is my daughter, I remember at this point I had to tell work at 6 weeks that I was pregnant because I was so sick. I wasn't vomiting, but I was just nauseous. I couldn't eat. It's not that I had food aversions, but nothing sounded good. So the only things I was eating were cold smoothies and cold V8 tomato juice. It's like the only things I could stomach. So I was weak. I was exhausted. With my second pregnancy, I was starving. I had some really bad lightheadedness, but I remember I was just hamming it up on chocolate milk, Big Macs, and tortilla chips and salsa. I could not get enough of tortilla chips and salsa in that pregnancy, even up until like just the early weeks. I did start to get a little bit of like queasiness around the 6 to 7 week mark, and I think at some point in the late 6th week, early 7th week, I did throw up once. What I did have with him was really bad prenatal anxiety. Okay, and then in my last pregnancy with my third baby, I was happier than a clam, like I didn't have any anxiety. or depression or anything like that, but I was so nauseous and sick. I've never been so nauseous ever in a pregnancy before. I was vomiting every single day for like an entire month, which feels like a long time, at least for me. And I also had like constant belching with him. I started out with the belching in this pregnancy, but it was mild and tolerable, and now I don't notice it at all anymore. So it doesn't seem to be like a thing that has persisted in this pregnancy. But what I have in this pregnancy is the sleep drama, right? The dreams and the night sweats and stuff. But I also have really, really, really bad lightheadedness and really, really bad anxiety. So I would say this pregnancy feels a lot like my second one, but it's still a little too early to make any kind of strong comparisons. But the anxiety, like it has its good days, it has its bad days. I unfortunately am on a stretch of several days of very bad. I very much am living in a constant state of dread and doom. I feel like I'm in trouble. I feel like I'm in danger. And it's not pregnancy related. And it's not even a fear of miscarriage. It's none of that. I'm not worried about my pregnancy at all. Like I feel confident in my pregnancy, the way it's going. Right now, I feel very much in danger in life in general. And it's very scary. I have a lot of fear. I feel a lot of guilt. I feel like I've done something bad or wrong. I feel like, have you ever had a nightmare where you've committed a terrible crime and then like they're after you and you're coming to terms with the fact of like, oh my God, this is going to change my life forever. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my family. I'm going to go to jail. My whole life is over. That kind of feeling, that is exactly the feeling I live with every day. And it doesn't make sense. So I very much do believe this is hormone driven, and it seemed to have been hormone driven in my second pregnancy as well, because once I got out of the first trimester, at exactly the same time as my nausea and fatigue and bad first trimester feelings disappear in all of my pregnancies, the anxiety went away. And I do know that depression and anxiety is linked to progesterone, thanks to some reading I did after a comment was left in one of my other videos. And I also know it can be linked to thyroid issues, which I do have. I have hypothyroid, I have Hashimoto's, and I will talk to you guys about my most recent blood results in a second. So I do think this is all hormone led, and I have a lot of hope and faith that it's going to get better. I also am being very practical and realizing it's likely going to get a lot worse over the next few weeks, just like the nausea did in my last pregnancy, just like the fatigue did in my first pregnancy. So I'm thankful I have previous experience to draw on. I'm thankful I went through this in my second pregnancy, so I don't feel like anything is actually like presently wrong right now. I also had that one chemical pregnancy a couple months ago where I had horrible anxiety, similar to what I'm feeling now. And once the HCG cleared my system and the miscarriage was done and things went back to normal, I felt normal again. So I think everything will be fine, but I'm really having to survive day by day right now. And it's very, very hard. It's hard. Like, I just want to curl into a ball and cry in the corner of the room all day long. Just like how I wanted to curl into a ball and sleep the day away or cry myself to sleep in my last pregnancy because I was feeling so nauseous. And again, to draw some comparisons, just like last pregnancy, even when I was feeling my absolute sickest and wanted to just die because I was so nauseous, right now in this pregnancy, when I'm feeling my absolute sickest mentally, where I just want to curl into a ball and die because I feel so bad, if I get up and get moving, if I work out, if I do something productive in the house, even though that's the last thing I want to do because it sounds horrible or it feels overwhelming or I just feel like I can't. If I just get up and get moving and do it slowly, I feel so much better. So much better. Maybe not physically, but mentally. And it just sets a beautiful cadence for the rest of the day where I feel like everything is in control. I'm staying on top of my responsibilities. Nothing is falling apart, and like in my last pregnancy, I mean, I was feeling so sick, but I was still having to make meals and snacks for my kids. Food was the last thing I wanted to be around. I wanted to puke. I felt so sick. But I still had responsibilities. I couldn't just fall apart. And that's exactly how it is now. Like, I don't want to face a mountain in front of me, whether that be the laundry or the dishes or the wood, literal mountain of wood in the backyard. I don't want to look at it and think, oh my God, I have to do all this stuff and I just want to cry and die, But if I just do one thing at a time, pick one toy up off the floor and go put it away and don't stop, just keep moving. Everything I see, just one little thing, put it back where it belongs, this, that, whatever. It makes a big difference. It all adds up, and it has a huge impact on my mental health and probably my physical health too. So that is what I have been dealing with, and that's how I've been working through it. Honestly, it's just out of necessity, but also knowing that if I get moving, if I do these things, if I stay on top of these things and I don't let it all pile up on me, if I just start the day and get it going, it does me such a world of good. And then, of course, the lightheadedness. This pregnancy is really doing a number on my blood pressure, and it did the same thing in my second pregnancy too. I already have low blood pressure. My regular blood pressure is 80/55. I'm no stranger to being lightheaded and having to be careful when I'm going from a seated position to a standing, but all of this woodworking, bending over, picking up wood, putting it into the wheelbarrow, bending over, picking it up out of the wheelbarrow and bending over and putting it into these like rows on the floor and then having to stand up and do it over and over again. I am living in a dizziness tornado all day long, and not eating regularly is not helping it. So another reason why my goal this upcoming week is to eat regularly and drink regularly, even if mentally my appetite is gone because I'm not mentally feeling good. I've got to take care of my physical health because I am still having to go out and do all these crazy physical things outside. So that is my 6-week update for today. Let me show you guys my non-bump. Please forgive all of the flour I have smudged all over my pants and my shirt. I had to bake bread earlier and I let my 1.5-year-old play with some of the flour, and that was a big catastrophic fail in terms of keeping the house clean as well as my own body. That's it. Nothing to call home about. I will catch you guys next week if I make it to 7 weeks. And we do a 7-week pregnancy update, and we'll just see how all these fun symptoms progress. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting sick and puking. I don't know if my anxiety is going to just be the end of me. I don't know if suddenly things will get better. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. So catch you guys in the next one. Bye.